Hello, everyone, and welcome to Interreg Europe's online networking event dedicated to greener Europe. This is our third networking event in a series of 4 where we go through all of the topics covered by the Interreg Europe program. And if you're looking for partners for future cooperation and new interregional cooperation projects, you are in the right place. My name is Miia Itänen, and I will guide you through today's session together with my colleagues. You will see them all in the list of participants with their name and Interreg Europe right behind it. You can contact any of us during the session, and we are all here to help you find partners and get ready for our second call for project proposals. I'm going to say it right here in the beginning. Our second call for project proposals will open on the 15th of March in 2023, and we are starting the preparations right now. Let's have a look at the agenda and see how we do it. Today's session is all about green and greener Europe, and the session itself will be divided in 2 parts. The first block from 10 to 11 will be recorded. The second block from 11 to 12 will not. The first part of the session is going to be presentations from the European Commission. You will meet Myriam Boveda from DG Regio, who will tell you about Green Deal and the cohesion policy. And then we will go more into Interreg Europe and what we expect from our projects and how you can build your partnership together with our policy officer, Etienne Rodzinka-Verhelle. And this is going to take about an hour because we've also got some time reserved for your questions. Let's kick the discussion off. You'll have to Zoom chat at your disposal, and I see that you're making good use of it already. Keep using it. Let us know where you're joining from. But also, if you have questions, put your questions in Slido, because what we've seen in the previous sessions is that the chat tends to be very, very active. And for us to have an easier monitoring of the questions, it is easier if you put them in Slido. Our team will answer them there. We will discuss some of them live, and we'll make sure that you get the answers that you are looking for. Once we're done with the first block, we'll move to the second block, which is going to be presentations and idea pitches of project ideas presented by you. I know quite a few of you have project ideas and are looking for partners, so you'll hear more about those ideas, and you'll see maybe there are some interesting ones for you to join or to discuss. We'll divide you into smaller groups. You'll get a chance to meet each other and network and build connections. But let's start working towards that, and let's make good use of the tools that are available. We also have a networking table where you can build links with each other and indicate interest in the topics proposed by others. So I would encourage you to make use of that as well. Before we go any further and before I introduce the speakers and give the floor to them for presentations, I would still like to know a little bit more about what brings you here today, and I would like to know who's in the room with us. We have quite a big audience. Let's launch a quick poll to get some brief insights into today's audience. This will help us shape the discussions. Let us know how familiar you are with Interreg Europe. Those of you who have been in our sessions know how this works. We want to know if you've been in Interreg Europe projects, if you've maybe taken part in some other activities, maybe made use of some of our policy learning platform services, or if you are really here for the first time just discovering the world of interregional cooperation. I also want to know about what brings you here today, if you're really just for information, or if you have a project idea, or if you're maybe looking to hear more about project ideas available all across Europe. So give us some insights on those. I will remind you that the first part is recorded. You will have the presentations. They will be available later on. You'll have the full recording with the presentations and the Q&As. But the second part with the networking will not be recorded. So if you're not staying, you're not part of those discussions, and you're missing out on meeting all these people from all across Europe who are with us here today. We're doing very well with the poll. I will give you just a few more seconds to reply. About 160 of you have already given us some inputs. Please take a second or two to let us know what kind of experience you have from Interreg Europe and what brings you here today. And let's see. Let's close the poll and let's have a look at who is here today. We have a very interesting mix of participants, 35% who've been involved in our projects, 20% who've made use of the services. So about half of you have some sort of experience from Interreg Europe, and 45% newcomers. Very warm welcome to you. I hope we'll give you some insights into what the program is all about, and I hope that you'll find your way to make good use of it. I see that the vast majority of you, 80%, are interested in information. We are going to share quite a bit of information, but already now I will tell you that the full application pack and the terms of reference for the second call will be available next spring in early 2023, and you will then get all of the information. Today, we're going to go through the basics, see who's eligible, see how our partnerships work, see what Greener Europe is all about, and see if you have any questions to help you get started. I see also that 63% are interested in project ideas, and 9%, 15 people have ideas to share. So that means we're going to have good discussions during the second half of today. All right, good. Thank you for these inputs. I think that sets the stage for our discussions. As I said, today's focus is on Greener Europe, and let's start going into the topic. We will do so with Myriam Boveda from DG Regio, and we are going to talk about delivering the EU Green Deal through cohesion policy. At this point, Myriam, I'll hand the floor over to you, and to our participants, keep using Slido, put your questions there because we'll come back to your questions right after this presentation. Now, Myriam, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Miia. Good morning, everybody. Next slide, please. Can you see me? Yes, great. Thank you for inviting me to this Interreg Europe stakeholder event on Green Europe. I'm team leader for sustainable growth in DG Regio unit dealing with smart and sustainable growth. And I'm going to speak about how we can deliver the EU Green Deals through cohesion policy today. So today we face serious environmental and climate change degradation, and they are an existential threat to Europe and to the world. And the challenges we face today include consequences of climate change, such as drought, floods, heat waves, and wildfires, as well as pollution and biodiversity loss. And these threats and challenges are aggravated even more by the energy crisis we are undergoing at EU level. And we see that there is also growing societal concern, and that 90% of Europeans see climate change as a serious concern. In the next slide, we have the European Green Deal to overcome these challenges as part of the response that Europe is giving. And this Green Deal aims at transforming the EU into a modern, resource-efficient and competitive economy, which would ensure no net emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050, and economic growth decoupled from resource use, and also that no person and no place is left behind. In the next slide, concerning the responses that cohesion policy can give and how it can contribute to the European Green Deal, cohesion policy has a special role, as President von der Leyen underlined, because we are working in close partnership with regions and cities. And this allows adapting the approach to take account of the specific challenges and opportunities of different areas. And we have funding available under different instruments. ERDF Cohesion Fund, European Social Fund Plus, and also the newly created Just Transition Fund that will support structural transformations of regions to accompany the transition to climate neutrality. And the total amounts allocated to ERDF, Cohesion Fund, ESF Plus, and GTF totalize almost 400 billion euros for the period 2021-2027. How do we do this? In the next slide, we are focusing on different priorities, and one of the major priorities, investment priority, is in the programs we are supporting policy objective 2, a greener Europe, and there I will focus on the first 7 of the 8 specific objectives. These are aiming at supporting energy, climate change adaptation, investments in sustainable water management, also circular and resource efficient economy, as well as nature preservation, biodiversity, and reducing all forms of pollution. In the next slide, I will now tell you what are our priorities for investment in each of these 7 specific objectives. Concerning energy efficiency measures, we want to invest as a priority in energy efficient renovation of public buildings, of residential buildings, of SMEs, and improvements of district heating networks. And there we want to focus the investments in particular on the when we finance renovation of residential buildings, we want to focus on the energy poor, since energy efficiency is one of the best ways to address the root causes of energy poverty. And also when we talk about supporting energy efficiency in SMEs, we include the premises, installations, and also processes. In the next slide, when it comes to renewable energy investments, we want to focus in particular on renewable energy in heating and cooling, small-scale electricity generation based on renewables, and also on renewable energy technologies that need public support because they are close to the market but not yet widely developed. When it comes to energy installations and small-scale energy generation, we want to focus on renewable energy self-consumers, for instance, renewable energy communities and locally led initiatives, and they also could be linked to buildings or SMEs. And we know also that many energy communities counter energy poverty locally due to their socially driven business models. Next slide, please. So there, when it comes to supporting smart energy systems, we would like to prioritize smart energy systems, for instance, at local level, and this includes smart electricity distribution grids, which are related to demand-side measures and storage solutions. Concerning the next slide, specific objective 2.4, climate change adaptation, risk prevention, and disaster resilience. Prevention measures should be prioritized, in particular those including the improvement of knowledge base, awareness raising, and flood protection infrastructure. This includes, of course, cross-border and transnational areas. And also we want to focus on preparedness measures such as early warning system or equipment or training also. Concerning policy specific objective 2.5 in the next slide, which is sustainable water management. We want to support wastewater collection and treatment and investment in drinking water supply, which follows the water hierarchy. This means that demand side options should be considered before additional supply. It includes leakage reduction of water networks and other efficiency measures. We also would like to support water reuse for purposes other than drinking water, in particular urban irrigation. And there we want to work as a complementarity instrument to what is being done under the Common Agricultural Policy and specific funding instruments for common agriculture. So we should focus on water reuse for people use and for cities, for instance, urban irrigation rather than agricultural irrigation. In the next slide, we have also a support under a specific objective 2.6 to transition to a circular economy. And this includes, for instance, awareness raising, sustainable consumption, and development of circular economy strategies at national, regional, and local level. We want to focus on measures related to the upper stages of the waste hierarchy, so that we prevent valuable materials from leaving the EU value chains, including improving durability and repairability of products. In the next slide, so this is the last specific objective. It includes measures to support biodiversity protection and ecosystem restoration, green infrastructure. And I would like to say that green infrastructure is specifically highlighted by the regulation as a priority investment. And this refers to a strategically planned network of natural and semi-natural areas with other environmental features designed and managed to deliver a wide range of ecosystem services, such as water purification, air quality, noise reduction, space for recreation, and climate change mitigation adaptation. We also want to support decontamination and rehabilitation of industrial sites, contaminated land, or noise reduction, for instance. In the next slide, so we have a list of investments which are excluded from support by the regulation. And here you have the list of the investments that we will not support. Certain investments have exceptions, but the exclusion covers nuclear power stations, ETS activities, tobacco undertakings in difficulty, airport infrastructure, disposal of waste in landfills, and increasing the capacity of treatment of residual waste. And fossil fuels are also excluded for supports with a certain exceptions. In the next slide, so what do we aim at achieving with our support? We want to work on investments that are transformational, because we need, if we want our investment to have a higher value added, to embed them in a vision of a sustainable future. Otherwise, our investments will have a marginal effect if we are not embedding them in a vision for a sustainable future and also in a transition pathway. So this is where we want to go. We also need to put in place a system of proactive governance to manage this sustainability transition. And also we need to work hand in hand with innovation and research to support sustainability solutions. And phase out also unsustainable practices, avoid investing in lock-ins. We are also working on just transition so that we don't leave anybody behind and the transformation benefits everyone. And also applying specific territorial approaches such as Interreg, interregional cooperation are key to deliver the Green Deal everywhere. And we need also to make our investment transformational to mainstream sustainability in programs and projects. So to this aim, we have developed a toolkit on sustainability transitions. I have put the link to the toolkit here to see how you can embed your approach, your programs and your projects in such a long-term vision, which would help your projects or programs to be transformational. Next slide, please. And finally, what we are doing now to make sure that we are supporting all those who want to go further in this approach and work further in sustainability transitions. We are putting in place a Cohesion for Transitions platform that will be launched next year, at the beginning of next year, and will include workshops. So we will organize tailored support, good practices repository, and physical events, as well as having dedicated expert groups with policy experts and academics. And I hope that we can work together with Interreg Europe to make our investments efficient and transformational to support the objectives of the European Green Deal. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, first of all, Myriam, very much for the presentation. I think it gives a good overview of just how many different issues there are within Greener Europe and the Green Deal objectives. We do have a few questions for you indeed, and I think we should dive into those because I know your time is limited as well. Let's go with the questions that Aurora had. She was asking about green public procurement. How do you see that within the topic of Greener Europe, green public procurement? And maybe if you could comment also on the energy communities and smart energy systems at local level, their role and importance. Let's start with those maybe first.
On green public procurement, this is definitely part of what we want to see in the programs, but we see it as an instrument to make our investments sustainable. So to have sustainability in all projects, not only under policy objective 2. So there is a specific requirement under our programs to favor green public procurement, and we are completely online with this suggestion to have public procurement. So it's not just about we are supporting specific projects with our investment, but the approach has to be for all policy objectives. On the smart energy system at local level, energy communities can cover a smart energy system at local levels, but it can also be part of renewables. It can cover different issues. Our understanding is that we see this as a very interesting approach, energy communities. I think your colleagues will also give examples of projects that have been supported. So this is definitely a very good approach for us, and it can go to different specific objectives.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry. About ETS activities, You have some legislation related to ETS, and it lists all the activities that are included in the ETS. And if you want, I can look for the specific regulations so that you can check indeed if the activities that are planned under certain projects are part of the activities which are excluded from support. So on the Cohesion for Transitions, it has to do with the community of practice. So with different actors, yes, this is mainly for the stakeholders who are receiving cohesion policy support, so that they can see how their investments can be more transformational or benefit from specific technical assistance to make them more transformational. So it's included also different stakeholders in different actors and partnerships.
And on the last question from Damien, I think this one, considering that we do have a lot of people who are new to this type of cooperation in the session, maybe just briefly on the managing authorities. You mentioned those in the beginning, and we are going to talk about managing authorities a little bit later on today as well. But just if you could specify a little bit what we talk about when we talk about managing authorities.
Yes, the managing authorities are defined by our regulations. So they are the authorities who have been designed to manage the cohesion policy programs. So they, for instance, in France, for the program supported by the RDF, the mainstream program, it is the region, the Conseil Régional of the regions who are receiving the support, and they are the managing authorities. They are designed by the national authorities.
Indeed. And last question here, what about support for landfills or funding technologies to process collected waste? Maybe a final comment on this, and then I think we just take your closing remarks and move on to the next session.
So disposal of waste in landfills will be excluded. Fund technologies, process collected waste. Well, we have to see the projects in particular, but I see the process to process collected waste is not a process to increase landfills. So I understand that this would not be excluded, because what is excluded is to create more landfills. So my first answer, but of course I don't know all the elements of the project, so it's a bit difficult, but I don't understand that this could create additional waste in landfills, which is what we are aiming at avoiding.
Yes, thank you, Myriam, for all the answers to the questions. I have one final question to you, more like, considering that we are going to be talking about future cooperation and new projects and ideas for the rest of today's session, do you have any final tips for today's participants? Where do you see maybe the greatest potential for interregional exchange and this type of sharing between regions? What should they keep in mind as we move towards the discussions later on today?
Thank you. I think it's a very interesting question, and this is what we want to and I think you are doing very interesting work in creating this community, and also that we have cooperation beyond world borders. So I think that how to engage in the long-term transitions is something that is key, and that you have to keep in mind how you are going to make your investment transformational. And sometimes we tend to look at the project in particular, but we, as President von der Leyen said, we need to have the Green Deal as our compass. So we need to do the project and to see the compass where we are going to, and this is key for me if we want our projects to be transformation.
Thank you. I think that's an excellent tip. We always tell our projects to be specific and pick their challenges, but also think about the big picture and how it contributes to the long-term objectives. Myriam, thank you very much. I know that you will not be able to stay with us for the rest of the session, but do take a look at the chat. We have a very nice, active audience today, and I want to thank you very much for your contribution to our discussion. The slides will be available, the presentation will be available. Now I want to start moving more into the world of Interreg Europe. So we've talked about greener Europe, we've talked about the Green Deal, we've talked about the big challenges that we are facing. How can Interreg Europe help you address these challenges? What can we do together? Let's start going into that together with my colleague, a policy officer from our joint secretariat, Etienne Rodzinka-Verhelle. Welcome, Etienne. And let's talk about Interreg Europe in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you, Miia. Good morning to all. Thank you as well, Myriam, for setting the scene and showing a little bit what Greener Europe is about. So as you said, Miia, now we're going to dive a little bit more into the concrete of Interreg Europe program and what it can offer you for interregional cooperation all over Europe. Just to start, to give a little bit of knowledge, share a bit of information for the person that are not so familiar with the interregional strand of Interreg Europe. So Interreg, the European Interregional Cooperation, is about 4 different strands, around 100 programs. There's a cross-border that are very familiar to a lot of citizens in Europe, the transnational, gathering more bigger regions and bigger areas in Europe, the interregional, and that's on this that we're going to focus on today, of course, with Interreg Europe. And there's also the strand D for outermost regions. So what about Interreg Europe? This new program for the period 21-27. So we talk about a budget of 379 million euros, 6 topics to be covered. Today, we're going to focus on the green topic, and Myriam already said quite a lot about this policy objective. And 29 countries involved, meaning the 27 EU partner states, plus Norway and Switzerland. On the other topics, we had previous sessions, networking sessions that are still available online, and more to come, I think, this week to cover all topics and to provide you with information on this as well. The rationale of Interreg Europe is very similar to the one we had in the previous programming period. So it's still very much about improving regional development policies. So how to make sure that policymakers in Europe, by cooperating with each other, by exchanging knowledge, good practices, find new solutions to overcome the challenges they have in their own regions. So that's why the rationale of Interreg Europe is quite different to the other cross-border or transnational Interreg programs. This is very much dedicated to public authorities and very much as well a focus on the exchange of experience. So it's clearly a capacity building program, which again makes really the difference with the other Interreg you might be familiar with. There are 2 main pillars, 2 main actions on which the program builds on. The first one is the project, and that's the main topic of today's session. Another action that is also worth mentioning is the policy and learning platform. So the team of experts that are part of the program and that provides as well knowledge that connect the community of policymakers in Europe, and through peer reviews, policy briefs, workshops, help as well to disseminate further the knowledge accumulated in projects. But now today it's very much about projects, and I think most of you are here for this today. So an Interreg Europe project, what is it? The main objective, as I was saying, is really to improve the policy instruments of the participating regions, meaning that we are very much policy focused and to reach this improvement of the policy instrument, it can be new project to be funded in the region. It can be a radical change of an operational program, of a regional strategy to better address the challenge that is faced in the region. To reach this objective, the activities are mostly exchange of experience and capacity building. So it's really about policymakers, regional authorities, stakeholders as well, discussing between each other, trying to find good practices that are relevant for their own region and that they find in the other partners' regions. Core feature as well of Interreg Europe project, and it's a little bit different from the past programming period. The projects are now will last 4 years. 3 years of core phase, where there's going to be the exchange of experience, but also already starting to reach and to achieve results, and 1 year of a follow-up phase. Who is eligible? So who can participate in this kind of projects? We're quite proud and we welcome a lot of different partners, public authorities, a lot, mostly, and especially the managing authorities we were discussing just a couple of minutes ago. Public law bodies, meaning organizations that are governed by public law, as well as private non-profit bodies. Couple of elements that are important to consider when working on an Interreg Europe project is, and it makes total sense when it's a project focusing on policy improvements, we need to have the policy responsible authorities associated in a way or another in the project. The goal is really to change policy instruments. So the best way to do it is indeed to involve the policy responsible authorities as partners. And this is one of the eligibility criteria of the project. At least half of the policy instruments you want to address in your project need to include, well, the policy responsible authority of this policy instrument need to be included directly as partner. For the remaining ones, if there are, for some of the policy instruments, you don't manage to include the policy responsible authority, which can happen, then in this way, we would like, we ask you to associate them, and that's the term we use here, associated policy authorities, meaning that they don't have budget, but they will still be following the activity of the project and help as well reach its objectives. Another important element when we talk about changing policies is to really embrace the whole ecosystem of actors working on this specific challenge. And that's why we ask as well projects and each partner to launch and create a stakeholder group in each region to make sure that all relevant stakeholders are also included in a way or another into the project activities. A second element to consider is the geographical coverage. That's something I was mentioning in an earlier slide. Interreg Europe is about interregional cooperation, so not only transnational, but really trying to cover all areas of Europe. So that's why we ask as well that all in the partnership, all 4 areas are covered. Here you have the map. It's also available on our website, so that at least the all areas, all 4 areas we defined are covered by at least one partner. There's a specific rule as well for the outermost regions. If at least 2 regions or outermost regions, meaning these regions that are part of the EU and regions from Spain, Portugal, or France, like Regio or Azores, if at least 2 of them are included, then this eligibility criteria of their geographical coverage doesn't apply. So it's also to help outermost regions to be fully included in the Interreg Europe program. Another important element is the co-financing rates. So this all depends on either your location or your legal status. So if you are a public body or a body governed by public law, then there's a co-funding rate of 80% of ERDF if you're based in the EU member state, 70% if you are a private non-profit, and then there are also specific rules if you're a partner coming from Norway, then there's 50% of Norwegian funding, and if you're a partner from Switzerland, then we recommend you to contact directly your point of contact to have more information on the funding that can be provided. So Miia said something about the second call to be open earlier next year. Let's also have a look at the first call that we closed on the 31st of May, just to have a bit of a feedback on what kind of project we received. So we received 134 projects. We are currently fine-tuning the assessment, and the final result should be available in mid-December, so just in a couple of weeks. But we already have some first lessons, some elements that we would like to share with you, so it can help you perhaps to better prepare a project proposal for the second call. A first element, I was mentioning the geographical coverage. It's important that the partnership really goes clearly beyond the transnational cooperation, meaning that it's not only covering partners, for example, of the Mediterranean area, but really goes beyond and make sure that all 4 areas are covered. And not only that 4 areas are covered, but that it clearly goes beyond what Interreg Med, for example, can also offer. So, for example, Slovenia, Bulgaria, and a part of France, or in other geographical area on the map I just presented, they are still included in the Med area. So we would like you to go beyond, so to cover all geographical areas, but also go beyond the transnational cooperation areas. Another thing to have in mind when you prepare a project and when you're in the development phase is to really ensure that the policy responsibility status is clear. So really to double check with a partner, possibly with the point of contact of the country, to make sure that when you include a partner that either claim that they are policy responsible authority, or that want to include some organization claiming to be a policy responsible authority, to be sure about this, because again, this is an eligibility criteria, so it's important to have this status really clear. Another point as well is the kind of policy instrument you want to address in the region. It's also always important to clearly explain the challenge you face in the region, why it's this topic, this issue is relevant for your region, and why you want to address this policy instrument, and is it the most suitable and the easiest, the best fit for you to reach this objective and to overcome this issue. And last thing is also to make sure that at least one of the policy instrument is an investment for growth and job goal program, so one of the mainstream program. So a few words as well on the second call. Miia said it's going to open the 15th of March and it will close the 9th of June. All topics will be open and the application pack will be available already early next year. So on this, as it's today a networking session on Greener Europe, Myriam already presented all these specific objectives, so I'm going to go quite fast about this, but just to remind you again that we cover with this topic of Greener Europe, energy efficiency, renewable energies, the smart energy system, smart grids, climate change, water, circular resource efficient economy, including waste, nature and biodiversity, and also a little bit of sustainable urban mobility, very much focused on zero carbon economy. What is important here is that in all these topics, a lot of Interreg Europe projects past have already tackled these topics and these issues. So what is also important to have in mind when you prepare a project proposal is to have a look at what has been done before and try to find a different angle or topic that hasn't been addressed yet. So it's always important to have a look, and you can have a look at our website to see what projects have been funded and try to differentiate yourself to really enhance your innovative character. Couple of examples of projects that have been funded in the past programming period that are a bit different than the others and that managed to really clearly highlight their innovative character. So poverty, for example, we're talking about energy communities a bit earlier today. This is clearly an interesting topic and an interesting challenge to be focusing on, and poverty has been doing so. Smart grids as well, with the project setup, and biodiversity governance through better use of data by BDREX. So all these kind of topics could be funded by Greener Europe, so by the policy objective 2 in the new program and in new call. And all these projects manage really to differentiate themselves from other proposals. So thank you for now.
Thank you, Etienne.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We do have quite a few questions, but I also can tell you that our chat team is doing a good job replying to those questions. So if you have submitted some, or even if you haven't, have a look at Slido on the side and see the replies posted there. Etienne, maybe just, we got a lot of questions about eligibility. What can SMEs do? Can universities participate? Who is eligible? So overall, maybe a quick recap on the type of partners and the key differences. We're going to start talking about partnerships very soon. We're going to start networking. What should people keep in mind? Who should be involved in Interreg Europe projects?
So the main target really of Interreg project is regional policymakers at large, whether they are at the regional level or at the local level, like municipalities. So it's really our key target. But of course, we understand that they cannot be involved in all projects, and also that other partners and stakeholders of the ecosystem can also have a role to play in improving policy instruments. So what in terms of eligibility and who can apply, it's, so as I said, public authorities or authorities governed by public law, which is most of the cases. It's also authorities that are private, so governed by private law, but non-profit. For example, universities, chambers of commerce. So this can also apply. SMEs, on the other hand, that are fully private and looking for profit, cannot apply to an Interreg Europe project.
Yes, very simple. Maybe getting a little bit more technical, but without going into too much detail, you see the first question from Francesco on the list about the condition on public authorities to be a partner with the condition of at least 50% of the policy instrument addressed. So maybe a little bit more explanation on the policy instruments and these key requirements.
Sure. So for example, in a project, I'm going to keep it simple, but where there's 3 policy instruments addressed, one a local municipality strategy, a local strategy on waste, another one the regional operational program, and a third one regional strategy on waste. Then we need at least for 2 of them to have the so at least 50%. We need, in this case, at least 2 of them. To include the policy responsible authority. So for example, the municipality in charge of the strategy and the managing authority of the OP. And then for the third one, we accept, if it's well explained, well demonstrated and justified, that another authority, another partner takes care of improving the regional strategy on waste, for example.
Yes. A few more questions. I see that Camilo, for example, is asking about when the results of the first call will be available. This question has been answered in Slido. Short answer, end of the year. So stay tuned. The other eligibility questions we will cover in Slido, but there's a question from Jan, and I will use this as a lead up to what we're going to be talking about next, because he was asking for an explanation of the ways to become involved in interregional projects. How do you what do you do? Where do you get your idea? Do you develop your own? Do you find one somewhere else? Where do you find partners? How do you apply? We actually have a few slides on this. So let's continue and let's have a look at our assistants. And Etienne, can you kind of take us through how to prepare your project with us?
Sure. So it's a perfect question, Jan, because indeed we have a lot of things available. Today is already one good thing to have an overview of what can be covered, and also to start networking with possible potential partners and try to find new ideas. So you're in the right place. But if you look for even more information and assistance and support, there's already a lot of information available on our website. So I can only invite you to already have a look at this. You can look for also ideas that are published on the website, try to start to network with potential partners. And when the call will be open, so as the 15th of March, we will have as well one interesting tool, which is the ask for feedback. So if you have an idea, possibly already a kind of potential partnership, you can already submit it to us and we will give you a quick feedback on if it's relevant, if there's something that are not clear yet, and that could prevent you to get recommended or approved. So you can already have a kind of first idea if you're going in the right direction or not. So this will be available as of the 15th of March. And then, of course, don't forget to apply before the 9th of June. But I think there's, again, already a lot of things that to start and to get prepared before the call opens. So yeah, I was mentioning it, but indeed on the website, we have the program manual, which is I think the best way to start. It's already a good view of what the program covers, how to develop a project, how to implement it afterwards, so to see if it's actually matching your own idea of topic to be addressed. The second call documents will be available, I was mentioning it, early 2023. So it's the application pack with the terms of the reference of the call, the application form, a lot of information as well of frequently asked questions that are available on the website. If you have one very specific question, you can also use the contact form. And then in each region or each country in Europe, there's also points of contact. Also, their contact details are available on the website. So you are very much encouraged to get in touch with your point of contact to get more information on the program and try to look for new partners or confirm that your idea can be interesting or not. Yes, so on a few things as well that we can share on the project preparation, because it's been quite some years that we've been following project development. The preparation is key indeed. It's to make sure to really understand the rationale of the program. So to read the program documents carefully, and the manual is the most important of them all. So that's a key element. And then to make use of the assistance tools. I mean, we are always available to help you. And I think that's a good way as well to confirm that you're again on the right track and that the project idea you have, the project rationale you have is in line with what the program can offer you. So use the self-assessment tool we have on our website, ask for feedback. Again, we are here to help when the call will be open. And as today, join the networking events, the support events we will have as well afterwards to really make sure, connect, and confirm that the idea you have, the partnership you have is relevant for Interreg Europe. And then the selection process. So the two-phase selection, let's say we have. So first the eligibility. I was mentioning to get a clear status of the policy responsible authority or to make sure that all geographical area are covered. So this is eligibility criteria. So make sure that this is clear on your side, that you really comply with eligibility criteria, because the non-eligible project won't receive any further assessment. So you need to already make sure you have these points covered. And for the quality assessment, it's indeed about meeting the program expectations. And I think they are quite clearly explained in the program documents, for example, in the program manual. But again, if you have a doubt, there's contact form, there's this kind of events, and there's the ask for feedback. So don't hesitate to make use of it.
Thank you, Etienne. Again, a good overview. And I just want to stop here for a while because we are here to help you. Now is your time to ask questions. I'll give you a little bit of time to put your questions in Slido if you still have some. Now is the time. But a lot of the support and the material and the tools are really available 24/7 through our website. So I just want to give you a little tour of what exactly you can find on our website to help you with the project preparation. You will have seen some of this already when you registered for our event. I hope you've taken a moment to go through our website and see what it has to offer. But if not, have a look at this video. Here's a quick summary of how we help you prepare your project, and submit your additional questions in Slido. We'll come back to them right after this video.
Get ready for the call. Use our online assistance tools to prepare your project application. The first part of developing any project is coming up with an idea. And for that, you need inspiration. Explore the projects we've already approved to get ideas. Make sure your next project is innovative and builds on past achievements. Next, share your project idea on our website. Let people know what you're working on and see if they want to team up. Need more partners? No problem. Browse our online community for people with similar interests as you. Get in touch with them by email. You never know, you could find your perfect match. Once you've got your project idea and your partners, check that you're going in the right direction. Use our short 8-question self-assessment tool to make sure your project is relevant to our program. So what are you waiting for? Try out our online assistance tools and get ready for the call.
Give them a try. I really do encourage you to make use of the tools. Etienne, I asked for more questions and more questions we got. So I'll just take a few more with you and then it will be time for networking. Again, staying a little bit within the partnership aspect and what type of ideas and how to build your project. 2 points that I would like you to comment on. Baptiste is asking, why is there such a big focus on innovation? What about replicating some projects that have been proven to be successful? Why are we looking for new and innovative projects? Why do we ask people to build on the results? Your thoughts on that? And another question on the minimum or maximum number of partners required for the project. So once people start discussing their partnerships, what type of groups, what kind of groups, what size of groups should they aim for? Your thoughts?
So first on the innovative character, let's say, I think it's important to remind ourselves that we talk as well about public money and ERDF. So I think it's always best to build on what has already been funded, that has already been running, and then build on this. So we don't say that you should forget the past project, but it's more to get to the next step. So not replicate again and again something that has been indeed maybe interesting, but try to bring them maybe to another area, to take another angle, to find another way. A challenge that has not been addressed in an interesting project in the past can be further developed in something else in the future. So that's really the thing we have in mind for this innovative character. For the second question,
size of partnership, number of partners.
So there should be at least partners coming from 3 different regions. We don't really have I mean, most of the time we have around 6 to between 5, 6, 7 policy instruments. So as many partners. So there's no specific rules, let's say, on the number of partners, except that there should be at least partners from 3 regions. But then it's really linked to the kind of topic you want to address. So what is always important is to bring the relevant partners that will make sense for the topic you want to address, more than the quantity. We are really much focusing on the quality of the partners as well.
All right, Etienne, any final words from you? Any tips for the networking discussions? Anything else you would like to encourage our participants to do? Because after this, we will start the networking discussions. So any final thoughts?
I think it's always good this kind of events and to get to know a little bit what kind of topic the others have in mind. If you want to suggest one specific topic, of course, you are free to do so, but it's also to give an overview of what are the hot topic and the thing that policymakers, practitioners all over Europe are discussing about and what they want to work on. So I think it's a good way first to have this overview, and then of course to join the discussion. So I can only encourage you in the coming minutes to talk to each other, because this is the best way to find out if there's something that you can work on and build a proposal with, or if you will need to find maybe other partners, other topics that are more relevant for your region. So talk to each other and find out how you can connect for a proposal for the next call.
All right. Thank you, Etienne. Thank you, Myriam. Thank you for all of our speakers today. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you to our Slido team for answering those. I repeat, go to Slido and have a look at the replies, because you will find them in there after each of the questions that have been asked. Now it is time to start networking. And at this point, again, those of you who have been at our previous networking events know what I'm going to ask. I want to know if you're going to be staying, if you're going to be here to discuss project ideas and partnerships. We have a poll. Let's launch it. I want to know what your plans are for the next hour. Are you going to be here with us discussing possible cooperation with partners from all across Europe? And I also want to know, now that we've taken you through all the assistance tools and help that we provide, if you're going to make use of it. I repeat, the tools are there for you, so do check them out and see how they can help you prepare your project, check that you're on the right track, find partners, and make sure that you are ready when the call launches. Now is the time to start your preparations. You are doing a good job replying. 50% or so are staying. We are looking at close to 100 people who are planning to stay. Some of you are planning to leave. That's fine. I repeat, the first part has been recorded. The second part will not be recorded. So by not being here, you're missing out on the discussions. If you don't know, think about it, see how it goes. We're going to go through the project ideas before we divide you into groups, so you can still take a moment to see what is going to be discussed and see if there's one that interests you. With the tools, I'm very happy to see that most of you are planning to make use of them. So that is great. I think we have enough replies. We can close the poll and let you have a look at the results as well. 77% yes to using the tools, 2% no, and 21% I don't know. If you say I don't know, it means that you haven't checked them out yet and you haven't found that fits your needs. So go and check them out. And as said, half of you are going to stay. So without further ado, let's get into the networking. While I take you through how that's going to work, I will open another poll, and this one is going to be for a little bit of an evaluation. I know that some of you are leaving, some of you are still staying, but give us some feedback. Let us know how the session has been so far. We're going to launch it and leave it running. Just give us some feedback. It will stay there on the background, and let's have a look at how the networking is going to work. Again, if you've been at our previous events, it is kind of a familiar formula by now. We have already discussed smart and social. Today's focus is on green, and we have some more opportunities coming up. Later this week, we're going to cover connected citizens and governance, and after that, we will have covered all 6 topics, all policy objectives covered by Interreg Europe. But you will also have networking opportunities on the 5th of December, when you can discover the services provided by the Policy Learning Platform and why networking is such a crucial activity for modern day policymakers. So do join the platform, colleagues, as well, to see how networks can help you achieve your goals. And I want to remind you, 15th of March 2023 is going to be the launch date of our second call for project proposals. This is going to happen during an in-person event in Stockholm in Sweden. Europe Let's Cooperate, our interregional cooperation forum, and we hope to see many of you there in person. The call dates are there for you to keep in mind as well. And now let's have a look at how it's going to work for the groups. We will have 2 types of groups. We will have specific project ideas that we will run through very quickly in just a few minutes. And we will also have open areas for the sub-objectives within Greener Europe. So you can also, if you don't find yourself in one of the project idea groups, you can also see if somebody else is interested in a more general discussion and maybe coming up with new ideas. These spaces, these rooms, these discussions are your territory. You are in charge. You get to decide which discussions you want to join. You will be the ones leading the discussion, and you are the ones who decide what happens afterwards in terms of follow-up. So make good use of the time, make good use of the opportunity that we're here together, and I hope you will find some partners. A little tip, we have more ideas in this session than we've had in some of the previous ones. So we will tell you halfway through our networking time that now would be a good time to swap groups if you want to check out more than one idea. But keep an eye on the time. We will keep the rooms open until 12 once we open them, and you can jump around and find ideas that interest you, but the time is limited, so make good use of it. That being said, you don't need to stop here. It's not only for 1 hour. It's not only today. The discussions will continue. We have so-called networking tables available for you to reach out to each other and keep the conversation going. All of the ideas we will discuss today will be in those tables. You can join the groups that are building around those ideas with one simple click. Just head out to the networking table, find an idea that is interesting and say that I'm interested. Click on the thumbs up, and the host will know that you might want to continue the discussion. That is a tip for follow-up. We have 11 ideas. We are going to go through them right away. In addition to these ideas, we also have these so-called thematic rooms. So we'll go through these 11 ideas now, and then in addition, on the next slide, you see a list of other issues. So if you would rather discuss energy efficiency or climate change or circular economy in general and find partners interested in those topics, you can go into one of these open discussion rooms. These will not be moderated, so it is then your task to open the discussion and see where it takes you.